One city survived because of clouds. Another disappeared beneath a clear sky. August 6, 1945. Morning. Hiroshima is waking up. It's already hot. A clear summer sky hangs over the city. At an elementary school, a girl named Reiko Yamada lines up with her classmates, waiting for class to begin. The sun is so strong that some of the children faint. Their teacher tells them to move into the shade of the trees. Across the city, thousands of people are heading to work. Streetcars are running. Shops are opening. Groups of school children and students are out in the streets, helping to clear lanes between the wooden houses, a precaution against fire. 350,000 people live in Hiroshima. By the end of the day, much of the city and most of the people in it will be gone. This is the story of two cities, two mornings, and the closest thing the 20th century had to a single deciding hour. Hiroshima, August 1945. For 4 years, the Second World War had ground across the Pacific. By the summer of 1945, Japan's cities had been hit again and again from the air. Tokyo, Osaka, Kobe, dozens of others heavily damaged, but not Hiroshima. The city had been strangely spared. While the rest of Japan burned, Hiroshima remained almost untouched. People wondered why. Some said the city was simply lucky. Some had family in America. The rumors spread. The truth was harder. Hiroshima had been left intact on purpose. It had been chosen weeks earlier as a target, and the planners wanted it undamaged, so the full effect of what was coming could be clearly measured. The people of Hiroshima did not know they were living inside a decision that had already been made. At 2:45 that morning, a B-29 bomber named the Enola Gay lifted off from the island of Tinian, 1,500 miles to the south. On board was a single weapon. Its crew had been told it was the first of its kind. The plane flew north through the dark, toward the Japanese coast. At 7 a.m., air raid sirens sounded over Hiroshima. A single aircraft had been spotted. It was a weather plane sent ahead to check the skies. It passed over and left. At 8 a.m., the all-clear sounded. The people of Hiroshima went back to their mourning. The sirens had become routine. A single plane was nothing. The danger, they believed, had passed. It had not. At 8:15 a.m., the weapon was released over the center of the city. It fell for 43 seconds. Then the morning changed. A flash of light spread across the sky. Reiko Yamada, in the schoolyard, remembered seeing something shining in silver high above her. She remembered thinking it was beautiful. That is the last thing many survivors recall of the ordinary world. The explosion happened roughly 1,800 feet above the ground. In an instant, the area below was leveled. Nearly every structure within a mile was destroyed. The heat and the blast moved outward across the city faster than any warning could. Tens of thousands of people did not survive the morning. By the end of 1945, the toll in Hiroshima would reach an estimated 140,000. Among the survivors were children who lived only because they had been sent away. In the months before, around 2,000 children from central Hiroshima had been evacuated to the countryside, out of the path of expected air raids. When they came back, their families were gone. Their city was gone. In Hiroshima, that day is not given a long name. People simply call it Anohai. That day. Reiko Yamada was 9 years old. She had looked up at that silver light in the sky and thought it was beautiful. She survived. And 3 days later, it happened again. August 9th, 1945. Before dawn, a second B-29, named Boxcar, took off from Tinian. It carried a second weapon, more powerful than the first. Its target was not Nagasaki. The target was a city called Kokura, a center of military production, home to around 130,000 people. The plan was straightforward: reach Kokura, identify the target by sight, release the weapon. But that morning, Kokura was hidden. Clouds and haze covered the city. Smoke had drifted in from a conventional bombing raid on a neighboring city the day before. The bomber arrived overhead and found nothing it could aim at. It circled, and tried again, and circled again. For nearly 50 minutes, Boxcar passed over Kokura, waiting for the clouds to open. They did not. Fuel was running low. Anti-aircraft fire was climbing toward them. The crew made a decision. They turned away from Kokura. Below them, the people of Kokura never knew. They had heard the air raid signal that morning. Then, they had heard the all clear. They went on with their day, unaware of how close the city had come, and how narrowly it had been spared. Later, this would be remembered with a phrase, the luck of Kokura. But luck is never created. It is only moved. What Kokura was spared, somewhere else would receive. Boxcar turned toward its secondary target, a port city on the western coast. Nagasaki. Nagasaki, too, was covered in cloud. The bomber arrived with barely enough fuel for a single pass. For a moment, it seemed the city would be spared as well. Then, at the last moment, the clouds opened. A narrow gap, just wide enough. At 11:02 a.m., the second weapon was released over Nagasaki. The Urakami Valley, where it came down, was one of the most densely settled parts of the city. Tens of thousands of people did not survive. Like Hiroshima, the toll would keep climbing for months and years afterward. 263,000 people had been living in Nagasaki that morning. A break in the clouds, lasting seconds, had decided which of two cities would carry that day in its memory forever. The Second World War ended within weeks. On August 15th, Japan announced its surrender. On September 2nd, the surrender was formally signed. The deadliest war in human history was over. But for the survivors of the two cities, it was not over. The survivors had a name, Hibakusha, the people who had lived through it. For years, many of them said nothing. There was censorship, there was exhaustion, there was the simple impossibility of describing what they had seen. Many Hibakusha grew old and passed away without ever telling their story. Then, slowly, some of them began to speak. Emiko Okada was 8 years old in Hiroshima. She lost her sister. For decades, she said nothing. And then she spent the rest of her life telling people what that day had been. They could not speak, she said of those who had died. So I speak. Reiko Yamada, the girl from the schoolyard, spent nearly 20 years telling her story to children around the world. She said the only anger she carried was against the weapons themselves. Today, if you walk through Hiroshima, you'll find a city fully rebuilt. Streetcars again. Schools again. More than 1 million people. Near the center, a single ruined building has been left standing, exactly as it was that morning. People come from around the world to stand in front of it. It marks the spot. It keeps the date from slipping into abstraction. On 2 mornings in August, the weather decided which city would carry the memory. And the cities below never knew the decision was being made.